Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I focus mainly on sewing projects and simple and easy cooking recipes and some crafts. If you're watching in real time and it's April, please don't be confused. In going through my videos, I found that I had never edited this and posted it to YouTube. So now I am going to revert you back to December of 2023. Today I'll be showing you pillowcases that I made out of seasonal fabric for Christmas. I did them about 3 weeks ago, but I just wasn't able to get the video edited in time before Christmas. But this pattern or this idea can be used for any holiday throughout the year. And I have at least one other video that I made showing how to make pillowcases. I found this super cute fabric at Joann Fabrics here in the United States. You need to be really careful when buying fabric, and I wasn't this time. I went ahead and bought it without checking, but if you'll notice, there is a line running through the middle of it, and that's where the fold was. And sometimes fabrics will have that. It will be a little bit faded, and maybe it sat on the shelf a really long time. But just be careful and just look for that when you're buying your fabric. And this is even after being pre-washed and pressed with a steam iron. When I finished with the final product, I gave these to family members, so it wasn't that big of an issue. But if I had been gifting them to somebody else or selling them, the recipients probably would have been unhappy with them. Usually when I make pillowcases, I use the natural fold and I use the material the way that it comes off of the bolt, and then just measure. It's usually like 42 inches, and then just measure the length, which is 3/4 of a yard. But here I wanted the direction of the cars and the trucks to be different than they would have been if I used it from the bolt. I wanted the cars and the trucks to lay horizontally as the pillowcase would lay on the bed instead of vertically. So that required a little bit of adjusting and mathing on my part, which I'm not good at all. But I'll go ahead and I'll give you the dimensions for that, so that if you have a directional fabric, that you can make it go horizontal also if you wish. Normally I get 3/4 of a yard for the fabric for the main part of the pillowcase. But using this directional fabric, I need 1 1/4 yards of fabric. So I will need the width to be 42 inches. And then, so that is a yard of fabric and 6 inches. So if you get 1 1/4 yards of fabric, you'll be fine, because 1 1/4 yards of fabric is 45 inches. Is that right? You could even make it 44 inches or 45 inches width. which when you fold it over, it will be 22 inches or 22 and a half inches. But if you make it wider than 42 inches, you'll need to make sure that your cuff is the same width. Once you get the width figured out and cut, then all you need to do is fold it in half and cut the length to 3/4 of a yard, which is 27 inches. So the simple recipe for the main body of a pillowcase, if you're doing a cuff, is 42 to 44 inches by 27 inches. For the contrasting cuff, I bought this cute red with white snowflake material. I cut off the edges to make a nice crisp, clean cut. You'll need 1/3 of a yard of this fabric for the cuff. Since I'm making two, I got 2/3 of a yard of this fabric. And 1/3 of a yard is 12 inches. So I am measuring 12 inches and then cutting that with my straight edge using a rotary cutter. Once I cut 2 lengths of material for the cuffs, I put them together, one on top of the other, and then folded it again, and then I cut off the selvage edges because I didn't want that white to show through. Once I sewed my seams to my pillowcases. Then I'm just folding these in half vertically so that my cuffs are ready to be sewn onto the main fabric. Now, if you weren't lazy like I am, you could iron your fabric, iron the crease and iron the cuff at this point, but I didn't. Okay then, so these are all ready to be sewn onto the pillowcases now. And the measurement to these is 42 inches in length or 21 inches when folded in half. To the machine now to attach the cuff to the piece of fabric that I have for the pillowcase. So I am attaching the cuff with the cut ends facing the printed part of the pillowcase on the side that measures 42 inches, and then just pinning the two pieces together from end to end. Making sure that the pattern on the fabric is going the direction that I want it to. Now that I have the pieces pinned together, I am going to sew them together, and I am using a 1/4 inch seam on this. In the past, I've done a 1/2 inch seam and then cut it down and put a zigzag over it, but I am eliminating that step in this project and just doing a 1/4 inch seam, and then I will come back and do a zigzag stitch over the raw edges. And voila. Now you could take this to the iron if you wanted to and iron it out nice and flat. I didn't really even finger press the seams on this, but just smoothed it out flat with my hands. And so now I have the zigzag stitch on my machine, and I am just going over those raw edges to finish the seams up. It's hard to see the zigzag stitches from this side because I used a thread that matches this fabric perfectly. But here are the zigzag stitches. Now I fold the fabric and cuff with right sides facing each other, and I am going to match up the seams, the cuff seams, with one another and pin them, and then pin the rest of the fabric together. You'll notice that the cuff fabric is a little longer than the rest of the pillowcase fabric, and I should have trimmed that off, but I was being lazy and thought that I could just sew it first and then trim it later. But it will be easier if you trim it off before sewing it. And whoops, left the zigzag stitch on. Did a back stitch, and then now I am doing a 1/4 inch seam all the way around the pillowcase. When I get to the corner, I will make sure that my needle is down, and then I will pivot the fabric to go the other direction and finish the bottom of the pillowcase. So going back now and doing the zigzag around the raw edges of the seams, just like I did when I attached the cuff. I had to stop and rewind the bobbin, so I got that all sorted out. And here we have the finished pillowcase as I'm turning it right side out. And that cuff seam matched up perfectly. So here you have a seasonal pillowcase. To add just a little bit, something extra to your holiday, whether it be Christmas or Easter or summertime, Halloween or Thanksgiving. I'll leave the link to the other video that I did on pillowcases in the description box, along with the dimensions, the measurements to this one. I get people all of the time asking me for the written instructions or the dimensions to a project that I've done, and all of that information, and if I'm doing a cooking video, the recipe will always be in the description box, or at least I try to always do that. If you are new to YouTube or you are looking at this on your phone, the description box, you can click onto it. If you click onto the white space next to the title of the video, or the word more underneath the title. And I'll try to put a picture of that up so that you can see that, because I think there are a few folks out there that don't know about the description box. Thank you so much for joining me. Please like this video and comment if you found it helpful. And please subscribe to my channel. It's free. All you have to do is click on the subscribe button. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.